Good morning. Magandang umaga, everyone. Welcome back to FANHS Stockton Chapter Weeklies. This week, we have such an amazing individual who is such a pioneer and also one of the man who started Stockton Chapter. And without further ado, let's hear from Mel Lagasca. Hi, Mel.
Hi, Mofei. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. I've been looking forward to having you here because, of course, I want to reintroduce you to the community and to the new members that we have here now, and we're growing because you are the man that started this whole journey. So please start off with what is your FANHS journey?
The fun story actually really started when I was born. My mom is African American and Irish, and she was born up in Tacoma, Washington. And my dad is from northern Luzon, Vigan, and he's Ilocano. He was born in 1910. My mom was born in 1916, and they met in Tacoma, Washington area and married in 1937 and had three kids. And I was the third of the kids, and unfortunately, my dad passed away and when he was 44 years old, and mom moved us to Stockton, California in the summer of 1954. So my roots in Stockton really go back to the summer of 1954. And that really started the journey on um, understanding the Filipino American uh, role in American society. And as a kid, you grow up and you don't think about all the academic things. You just think about, having fun with the family and learning your uncles and aunts and who your grandparents are and who your family friends are. So that was really the introduction um, to my, I guess, curiosity in Filipino American history. And as I grew older, I found that American society was really a challenge. I meant to live in a society where you have democracy and you have uh, law and order, and you have rules and regulations, policies and procedures. You want to comply with all that. So you have to, I guess, mom and dad really talked to us about being law abiding and being good citizens. So fast forward, I ended up going through school, elementary school in Stockton, junior high school in Stockton, and Edison High School eventually, graduating in 1965, and then eventually going to Delta College and graduating from there in 1967. So my roots really go back quite a few years, 70 years really in the Stockton area. So I do have a little bit of history, not exactly a pioneer in history, but um, quite a few years.
And,
Anyway,
and with, yeah,
go ahead.
no, you were saying pioneering, but you do have that pioneering story when it
Yeah,
comes to
it's
this.
usually I think of pioneering families as 100 years plus, but I guess 50 years in one location is pretty reasonable in terms of understanding
Yes,
the
agreed.
culture in the area and the geography and the people. Um, I'd like to refer to a chart that's behind me. I over probably about four or
Yes,
five
please.
years ago, I
Wow.
realized that I became associated with the Cordova family, Fred and Dorothy, back in 1971. This is prior to FANHS. And so I gradually put together a collage, really. I don't know if you can see it, but it has
Yeah, I can
dates
see
on
it. Hmm.
it. It starts back in 1957 to 1982. Fred and Dorothy were involved with the Seattle Northwestern region for quite a few years. And they had started the Filipino youth activities. And then from 66 to 1972, Dorothy led a demonstration project for Asian Americans where she went out into the community and collected data, uh, did live interviews with Filipino Americans and different Asian groups, the Chinese, Japanese, and in the Seattle area. And these two projects started the accumulation of data and information on Filipino Americans. And then in 71 is really when I literally met Fred and Dorothy. It was the Filipino People's Far West Convention, and it started in Seattle. And I was one of the first members of I was luckily enough to attend that conference in Seattle in 1971, and that was really, I guess, the profound connection that I made with Filipino American history. It was, to me, it brought together all the components that I needed to really get grounded in Filipino American history. So from there, these Filipino People's Far West Conventions lasted probably 10 years. And at the end of the conventions in 1982, Fred and Dorothy decided to create a FANHS organization to combine all this data that they've accumulated all the way back since 1957. And it was a perfect match. It was the perfect storm in terms of education and putting together information, live interviews, and just a whole lot of audio-visual documentation, a lot of artifacts. And it was just a perfect combination to put together a historical society. So in 1982, Fred and Dorothy created a third 501c3. And that's when the FANHS organization was really created. And out of that FANHS organization came a National Archives. There was a national office in Seattle. They created trustees. They created biannual, every 2 years, the national conferences. They created FANHS chapters, and Stockton chapter is number 12.
Wow.
Back
That's amazing.
In 1992.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I believe there's like 44 chapters.
Yes, we have grew.
Quite a few chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful part about that, theoretically, if each chapter really compiled the history of Filipinos in their locality, in their region, in their towns and city, it would be the picture perfect, collection of information per chapter. And of course, that's theoretically, and in reality, it's hard to actually implement that. But Stockton chapter, and I'm proud to say that being a charter member of the Stockton chapter, the Stockton chapter is the flagship among those 44 chapters. Congratulations, Mafei. You're in charge of a flagship organization chapter.
No, congratulations to all of us. I'm honored. I'm honored to have
really
your support and
really
everybody's support to lead.
And I always refer to the charter members as the founding fathers. And if we can put up this chart on the there's 5 individuals. If you have a picture of the 5 individuals, these were the charter members. And I'll go through them real quickly. There's Frank Acoba, who was the first president of the chapter. Cecil Bonzo was the vice president. And Virgie Malaire, who was the secretary and treasurer. And Marino Balantok was right, the gentleman right to the right of a left of Franco Coba, and the gentleman sitting down is Buster Villo. Now, the unfortunate part about this, each one of those individuals are no longer with us, but they laid a foundation down. And they laid a very important foundation down in that they gave us a sense of responsibility and importance of preserving our Filipino American history, especially in the Stockton, San Joaquin County area. So they laid the foundation, and they were actually Cecil and Virgie and Frank were actually part of a group called FAHI that was primary, or the organization that FANHS actually developed from. The FAHI group actually was in existence for 3 or 4 years, and then they were convinced that the FANHS organization were doing exactly the same thing, so they created their membership, basically went over to FANHS in 1992. A little bit of history. That's history.
That's nice.
That is your
Thank you
foundation.
for sharing that.
And we always like to refer to the folks who started it and why they started it. So the concept of a museum was really embedded in those folks prior to FANHS, and they came in to FANHS with the idea of eventually having a museum. And Cesar Bonzo was actually the lead person back in 1994 to lead the FANHS Museum project. And unfortunately, in 1999, he passed away. And in 2000, Richard Canaza was the chapter president. And we voted and to see who was going to lead the project. And it turns out I guess I must have had my hand up or something. I was scratching my head, and they said you're on. So from 2000 really on, I led the project and basically kept the torch alive of the whole concept of the museum. And I would go to Sacramento and give talks there and just sort of updates. And I became a national trustee back in 2000. So I would give annual reports and on the status of the museum project. So that is it's a lot of information there in a short amount of time. But I think you have the picture.
Yes, that is so. I mean, I have, like, for me, to be honest, now the reason why I also started is for me to also re-educate myself or understand the stories of, like, you before me, who has really paved the way. And that powerful picture you just shared right here, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have known, you know. But this is where we intentionally share learnings, right? Especially technology of today, where the youth are really online finding out an answer. So speaking of that, we also want to encourage meeting face to face, right? And you mentioned the FANHS Museum, which we have here in Stockton. So would you like to share anything that is happening soon, or why should people visit the museum?
Well, that's a profound question, really. I think if you have a curiosity, it starts with a curiosity of your own personal life and your own personal background. And if you have an ounce, as Fred Cordova would say, if you have an ounce of Filipino in you, you're Filipino. And he kind of ingrained that in us, and that's kind of a good guideline in terms of identity. I can identify not only with the Filipino community, but the African American community and the community at large. But I took a preference in understanding the Filipino American. Now, you have to understand that the museum was actually a product of the national trustees giving Stockton the authority to start the museum in 1994 at a conference in San Francisco. So when that formality happened at that conference, the trustees literally gave Stockton the designated spot for the museum, and Cecil took it on. And when he passed on, I took the lead on keeping that concept alive. What it is a collection not only of local history, but national history. It represents the national effort to collect information and to store it in one location. And that's what that museum is doing. And one of the things that I can vividly remember is that if we ever found a place and opened the door, I wanted to make sure all the chapters had space there in the museum. So I hopefully laid the groundwork to allocate physical space strictly for the chapters to showcase their activities and to create dialogues maybe between the chapters. And that's something that has to keep going. I mean, we have to keep that concept alive of sharing information and learning from each other. But to go to the museum, I think, is a totally new experience. It augments the educational system that we go through now. K through 12, you get a basic training on U.S. history, but all the details are not there. And the museum fills that void. It fills that void with details of your family and friends who make up the community, all the achievements they've made, the contributions they've made to society are all there. And it really, to me, is a welcoming situation. When we first started, thank you for putting that up there. We were really struggling to put this museum together because none of us really had a lot of experience. I had to sign up as a docent in San Joaquin County Museum to understand how a museum is operated. So I really had started from scratch to learn that, but we were struggling to get information together so we can open the doors, and it literally took a year to finalize things. And you can see what it looked like at the beginning, and if you can show the other exhibits. The panels to your right there are part of a Smithsonian travel exhibit that the national office worked out with the Wing Luke Museum to loan that exhibit to us for, actually we had it for a little over probably 18 months, close to 2 years. And that was a picture perfect national, I guess, exhibit that covered all the aspects of Filipino American experience. And there
we have students there too.
Yes. And in 2017, you see a group of students, and we've had several groups of students there. But there's the west wall, and on the opposite wall, on the east wall, are local exhibits of that rotate out. Hopefully, 6 to 8 months, they rotate them, and along with the chapter information. But that particular museum photo is of a collaboration that we're currently working with the San Joaquin County and 8 other museums within San Joaquin County. So FANHS is now a recognized museum within the county, and the picture you see there are of San Joaquin County, Lodi, Stockton, the Hagen Museum in Stockton, and the FANHS Museum in Stockton. Let's see, there's Oakdale is represented, Ripon There's a museum in Ripon, a museum in Escalon, a museum in Manteca, and a museum in Tracy, California. So we are part of a collaboration consortium. And in May of next year, we will host a meeting at the museum so they can literally see what the Filipino community is doing.
Amazing. This is so good, Mel. Thank you so much for sharing all of these. And maybe you can invite everyone on how they can visit the museum, who they contact, and what else is coming up.
There's so much stuff happening in October. I know you've been extremely busy. Not to mention, your own personal life. But I think the things that are immediately coming up, there's a group from Skyline College, I think in the Bay Area, that are here in Stockton today, visiting the museum. And everything is done through appointments. And it's just I guess a part of a non-paid staff to get volunteers together. And the simple fact that that so many people they've got their own personal lives, but a lot of us have a I guess a lifetime of learning, dedication to local history, and they're the ones that are keeping the doors open. We're very fortunate to have Terry Torres on board, and she goes back as far as I do almost. And I really consider her a co-founder of the museum simply because she's documented so much stuff over the years. I was a chapter president at one time, and she was chapter president, and but we go back a long ways. And Erwin Minna really is taking a major role as president of the museum board of directors, and he is doing quite a bit of outreach. And one of the plugs I really like to put in is tomorrow we're going to have visitors from Delano and Central Valley, and I'm not sure if Sacramento is going to be there, but Stockton and Delano and Central Valley will be able to sit down and chat about what we're doing and maybe do some brainstorming on how we can collaborate. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about collaboration is you learn so much from all the individuals that have committed their lives to preserving the history.
I agree with you 100%. And with this collaboration right here, I know that people are going to learn that history is so important, and Mel shared so much. Even the timetable at the back, guys, you see, we don't need a computer, we don't need an iPad. Pen and paper is still powerful, and I love this diagram right here. If you can share with me a picture of that, Mel, I'd love to showcase that, because you really you really broke it down on how the timeline was even in the 90th century. Somewhat in our modern days. But I appreciate you, and I will welcome you back again, or I'll bring you back again, because I know there's many more that we can discuss and talk about and learn more from you. So I appreciate your time, and I'll see you tomorrow. So we'll do more collaborations then. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and I hope you have a blessed weekend. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.